Welcome to the Recruiter Startup School. My name's Dulta Doherty, and in this podcast series, I will be interviewing experts, founders, thought leaders, and investors from the agency recruitment world. We will be discussing how to set up, operate, scale, and even sell your recruitment business. This week's guest is Sean Anderson. Sean is the founder and CEO of Hoxo Media. They're a digital market agency that help agency recruitment firms with their employer branding. Great interview, and he spoke really detailed about how recruitment firms can improve their online presence through video and other mediums. And we discussed his journey and how his company came about and what they offer. I got a lot out of it, and as a result, I'll be investing a lot more in video, and I hope you do too. If you're getting any value out of these podcasts, I'd love to hear from you. And if you know anybody that you'd like me to interview, or you want to come on as a guest, just reach out to me. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please give it a like and share, and let everybody know on LinkedIn. I hope you enjoy. Over to Sean. Sean Anderson, welcome to the Recruiter Startup School. How are you today?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's a busy time with kids, though.
I'm fortunately not quite there in my life yet, so I can't even empathise with you, but I'm sure it's not easy.
So I was doing a little bit of last minute cramming for this while trying to feed my 1-year-old Connor, and I was watching you on Recruiter TV on Toby Bapp's interview that he did with you. It was really good, and I seen that we both had a similar start into our industry.
Right.
Yeah, can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. In terms of my background, so we're going back to I finished uni, got into teaching. I actually finished uni, started knocking on doors, working for a company where I was signing people up for charities. I did that for a year, and that was actually probably the best training ground ever. But then I went into teaching, was a PE teacher, qualified for 3 years. Got to about 24 and decided I wanted to go travelling. Did all the Southeast Asia route for 6 months, and then landed in Australia where my teaching qualification wasn't valid.
Where'd you land in Australia?
Melbourne. And that was just purely based on the fact it was the cheapest flight. There was no predetermined plan to go there. And actually, looking back, I wish I'd have gone to Sydney now, because it was. Yeah. I don't think Melbourne was quite as good, but my opinion and all.
What year was this in?
2011 we landed there. So left 2010, March 2011, and then I did about 50 jobs in 2 months. From I was working as a barista in a coffee shop. I think I spent a day buttering toast. I was ripping up carpets in an airport. I didn't like the way, I'll be honest, people looked down at you as like a traveller who was working hospitality. It wasn't the nicest feeling.
I was in Australia at the exact same time. I left 2010, 2011, and went to Melbourne myself.
Really?
Yeah. So
where did you work?
I sold gym memberships for the first while. To be honest, right, I was running nightclubs in Belgium beforehand. Wow. And that life took its toll a little bit even for a young man. And I went to Australia, and I thought, I've always been interested in sports. Maybe I could have a look at something in that. I suppose, like yourself, you went down the P route, and then went into the gym membership route, and ultimately that ended up me having a look at how can I get further up this sales food chain, and got into recruitment. But did you get straight into recruitment in Australia, or how?
No. We as I said, I was doing every job I could imagine, pretty much hating it, and then a mate of mine landed, and within about 5 days, he got a job in a recruitment company with a decent salary and a 5-year visa on receipt of passing your probation. I was thinking. Wow. And everyone else was English, Irish, Scottish. Was all planning on like picking fruit to stay in the country. So I was thinking, I'd rather have a job than pick fruit in the farm. And then, that was it really. When I found out what you needed to do it, you needed either 5 years sales experience or a degree and some sales experience, which I actually had done some sales stuff. So long story short, I started BD, and the next day, me and my brother and my best mate picked up the phone, rang, I think, most recruitment companies in Melbourne, got rejected plenty of times. But yeah, two of us got into Randstad, and one went to a small boutique.
Oh, very good.
And that was where it started. We did just under a couple of years there. I had a good time. I joined a new division. They put me in a startup team that basically won a state government contract. So they won the Victorian government contract, which meant Randstad had about 300 new accounts they could work with, but absolute knew nobody, had no contact data. And so it was like an amazing little training ground, really, because I just ran around Melbourne banging in contractors, but I didn't really have to do a lot of the kind of the really hard BD bit, because it was already the PSL was agreed, but they didn't have to use us. But obviously, I was able to get myself in there, learnt a lot. Didn't earn any money really, because it was a new contract government. We were on some kind of we didn't even have a commission structure. It was just like a basic bonus scheme. But I did all right, and then realised after 2 years, I've got to make a call now. Am I going to commit to being an Aussie and go for the next job where I could see some growth, or come back to the UK? And I decided that, yeah, I wasn't that bowled over by Australia. I thought it was great, but it was long term. I wanted to come back, and London just always excited me. Everyone says London recruitment was like playing in the Premier League, the most competitive in the world. So I was like, if I'm going to be any good at it, I better go and prove it there.
And did you find it was like that?
Yeah, it was definitely. I think the biggest change I found from Australia to London, and again, this was from experience personally and what everyone else was telling me from friends over there, was I think London market, although it was much more competitive, there's plenty more agencies, no doubt about it. I think clients almost, however, culturally were more accepting of the partnership with recruiters. Like in Australia, I felt like there was always a resistance to recruitment, and but even then, we're talking 7-8 years ago, in-house teams, they would always prefer to use their in-house teams. Whereas I don't know, my experience in London was that actually they were pretty open to using recruiters, just ones they liked, and it was all about relationships. So it was definitely more competitive, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, very good. So the purpose of this show is to kind of help young founders, not necessarily young, but people who are thinking of setting up their own recruitment company. And I asked you to come on because you're always coming in my feed, and I wanted to talk to somebody about marketing. And
It's working.
I thought, okay, well, this guy's figured something out. So talk to me about, where did you first think that, okay, so social is going to be the next thing, I'm going to get into it with recruitment, and how did that come up?
Yeah, it was a bit of, I guess, a bit of luck to begin with, in terms of my plan was to set up a recruitment agency with my now business partner, Amma. We work together we've been best mates since uni. We've known each other really well. We're both in recruitment anyway.
Proper bromance, is it?
Oh yeah. And then we basically were like, right, we need a couple of years to plan this out, save some cash. We both bought properties in London with commission we'd made, and we were like, right, let's go and do this now. So about a year before setting up, we went and met with a mate I grew up with in Manchester that was working in marketing. And ultimately just have a conversation with him and say, look, would you give us any advice? Could you support potentially on even like an ad hoc basis with us because I joined Venquis in 2012, who, a phenomenal business that even when they were tiny, because the owners had come from such big backgrounds, they kind of built the business in a really structured way from day one. And so there was always
what were you recruiting there?
I was doing business transformation into the insurance market or contract. But
good market.
Yeah, great. But point being, we got a marketing team in pretty quick, and I saw it grow really rapidly, and the impact of our marketing team was really powerful. So I was thinking, I want that from day one. And actually, I loved social media. I spent a lot of my time on Instagram and stuff. So I was like, and I was aware that actually, if I set up a new recruitment company, I'd definitely have a restrictive covenants period that I didn't want to break. But if I was putting out content, I could still keep my face out in the marketplace, which I've now done in a different way in the recruitment marketplace. Long story short, my business partner now is the guy in Manchester that was in marketing. Got excited about what we were doing. We got excited about what he was doing, and my for about 6 months, my brain just kept thinking about social media and marketing, and just there's got to be so many recruitment agencies out there that need support on that front. Because when I did some research, I just the standard of the marketing and social specifically was pretty poor, and B, I couldn't really find other digital agencies with the knowledge of the recruitment industry that we'd have. So I thought the blend of skills between us was really, really powerful. So I pretty much convinced them to quit their jobs, change their plans, and that's where Hoxo came from.
Very good. And were you self-funded, or how did that go about?
No, all self-funded, because we saved a lot of cash for a recruitment agency anyway. Okay. So we are thinking about going through investment now. We're going through some conversations with various parties.
Excellent.
And we're 18 months in. I think investment now is not necessarily because we need cash to survive. It's more from to capitalize on the opportunity
and leveraging your brand maybe with people who are out there.
Exactly, yeah. But I think for now there's a big market. There's lots of businesses that need our help, but we need the people internally to be able to do that. So I think that'd be the reason why we go down that route at this point.
I've been doing Rec Direct for a few years, but before that I worked for 2 large agencies for about 4 years, and I always think that like recruitment agencies have a real thing against content creation. How did you find that when you were initially trying to sell, and has that changed since the recent algorithm changes of LinkedIn?
Yeah. No, look, personally, I was the recruiter that was exactly that. I didn't give a shit, if I'm honest. I never ever produced a piece of content. I was the guy that when the marketing team was like, "Can we write some blogs for you, Sean?" I was like, "Yeah, cool. I'll come back to you on it." I never did. And I just didn't understand the value of it whatsoever. I was completely. I mean, I made a lot of money. I was a big biller. I had a good team, so it worked. What I was doing was working. So why would I change, right? But now, having seen what I've done in the last 18 months with my brand and with Hoxo's brand, and now what we're doing for our client base, the power of what you can do is phenomenal. It's just unheard of, the amount of people you can reach that you just simply cannot do on the phone on one-on-one conversations. And what's its name? So if you think about the clients that we work with, I think at the very beginning, early last year, it was a much more of I was educating everyone on what I was talking about. People just did not really get it. But at the same time, I think the fact that I've come from their world, they know I understand what they're doing, helped. And we had certain businesses that took a chance and were like, yeah, let's go for it. Usually the innovators, the guys like your Toby Babb from Harrington Star, and people that were already investing in newer things across their business, were probably already making videos or thinking about marketing anyway. We were the kind of perfect partner. I don't think we're attractive to the guys that we're not already on thinking about marketing anyway, because why would they?
I was trying to think of why that is specifically in our industry. Like why are we so against it? And I think it's generations of protection of IP. Like, this is my database and nobody's going to know the info that I have. But that world seems to be changing.
I don't think it's that. I think it's lack of understanding of what it does. I think they just because content doesn't create a return like a sales call does in the way that it takes time. And recruiters are notoriously impatient. When your business is built on being paid for a direct result and trying to do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible, building something in the background doesn't necessarily like work cohesively or come naturally. So it's like I'm sure most recruitment agencies that are either listening to this or are out there have probably tried some kind of content creation today and didn't get much of a result when they first did it and just sacked it off. They were like, "Oh yeah, that took loads of time, cost us money, and we got nothing from it. Now I'm not going to do that anymore." When in reality, that's exactly what it will do. It'll cost you money, it'll take you time, but it will drive results. You just got to keep doing it. It's like going to the gym. I always say, if you go to the gym once, you're not going to get fit. If you go to the gym 3 times, you're not going to get fit. But if you consistently go to the gym every week and you eat well, over 12 months, you're going to look completely different. And it is the same principle with this.
Yeah, I agree. Now, can we jump into the granular on it?
Go for it.
So firstly, from the perspective of somebody that you approach, how do you go about that? How do you demonstrate,
what you do in terms, because it's hard to prove an ROI because it takes so long. So
yeah,
how
you
how
say
does
that,
go?
but when 90% of, just like you have today, come to me directly, it's not as difficult because they've come to me. So if they call me up or drop me an email based on the content I'm producing and they really want to find out how I can help, then the first question is, how did you find me? And when they say, well, through online, I was like, brilliant. Well, then it works. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm not ringing anyone. I'm not BDing clients and saying, oh, you need a social strategy, because there's no benefit to that. I'm just going to waste time. I might as well focus on producing content, and the people that buy into it will get in touch with me, and that's working. So
excellent.
I don't really have that barrier straight away.
So let me put you in the other one then. So somebody does approach you. Yeah. What's the first stage that you go through with them?
So first thing, I want to find out. I forget about marketing and I think about business and recruitment. I want to know what you're trying to achieve. So marketing should be an ability, or social, whatever. It should all be there to underpin a business objective. It's not about vanity. It's not about, oh, we just want a cool brand with loads of videos. It's like, what are you trying to get to? Are you trying to grow your headcount from 20 recruiters to 50 recruiters? Are you trying to increase revenue? Are you trying to penetrate a new market? What are you trying to do as a business? And then we'll work out whether or not we'll work backwards from that. Because if a client's got a plan and a need and a want, and they know what the opportunity cost is if they don't do something, then we can work out, well, actually, what do we believe we can do to support it? And actually, it might not be right, but most of our clients probably are more aligned with what you're doing in terms of the recruiter attraction piece. So many recruiters out there, especially the bigger brands, don't have any direct ability to attract a candidate. They invest through Rec to Rec, which is needed. They use referral schemes internally, which is needed. But ultimately, after that, where do they, unless they hire an internal recruiter who spends their life headhunting, where do they get good people from? And so a lot of the work that we do is actually improving their employer brand and getting people to apply directly. But also, when someone like yourself sends them a candidate and they're in competition with your clients, they also need to stand out. So it's about building a brand online that whoever comes, whichever route someone gets to them, is actually in building a digital connection with them before they even get into interview.
And so the first stage, you go through a needs analysis and work backwards.
Yeah.
The next bit must be like an idea creation, and do you have a team behind you that sit down and work to that person's needs? And what does that involve?
Yeah, so I've built a permanent team I've got 15 staff in the office, and I've got another 15 that we use. We call it clusters. We've got a cluster model where I've basically got internal and external clusters. So 15 permanent guys, and then I've got some remote clusters as well. So they're on fixed term contracts. They're not permanent, but they are working for us every day. So there's just under 30 of us, which is nuts. But it's a very, very people-driven business, mine. You can't. I used to build 700 grand on my own in recruitment. There's no way I could do that on my own in this game. So what we do is we ultimately will work with the client to build their strategy. So I'll bring a team together, and we'll sit on site with the client. We'll spend time with them. We'll understand their business, meet the key stakeholders, look at whatever their objective is, and look at what they're actually already doing. So we'll do an audit of their current marketing activity, what's the traffic like on their website, all the rest of it. We'll look into some competitors. We'll look for some good stuff that others are doing, because
within their niche.
Yeah, within their area or within different areas where we can beg and borrow. And then we'll come back and present that, and we'll come back with our ideas of campaigns. So I've got a creative lead, account director. I'll bring in my videography team, my graphic design team, my copyright team. We'll all sit together and we brainstorm, and we come up with some really cool stuff. And we try and go back to the client and say, well, look, this is your reason for existence. This is what makes you different when there's 30,000 recruitment companies in the UK. And this is from that. This is the kind of type of messaging and type of content we'd like to produce. And these are the places we'd like to put it. And we do that all based on the types of people they want to attract. So if it is candidates or clients, then we want to break that down into personas. If it's recruiters, then again, we break that down into personas. And so we know what type of people they want, we know what the challenges those people have, and we know what type of content will engage them. And then we pitch that idea and we put together a plan and say, well, look, over the next 12 months, this is what we'd like to do, and this is we want to manage it. Here's our plan and cost to do so.
And that execution piece, the channels that you're using, is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it pay per click? Is it
all of the above? Yeah, it really depends on the audience and where we think we'll get the best return. So we've got a paid media team that can do everything from Google AdWords, social paid media advertising on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We have relationships with multiple online publications where we can distribute content, and it really depends on whether you're looking for students or you're looking for tech people, or depending on what you're looking for, we'll do research and come back with some data to prove that your audience's attention is live on that site. What we're not going to say is we'll do one post on Google Plus for you, one on Twitter, one on Pinterest. We'll put some stuff on YouTube. People get very blinded by social that they need to have some kind of presence on every platform, which is just nonsense. If you go into a dark room, shut the door and start talking, no one's going to hear you. And it's the same online. If your audience are all on LinkedIn, don't spend your time on Twitter, for example, or Facebook. But you need to prove that, which is what we'll do.
Yeah, excellent. That's all really interesting. I've had a look at some of your videos. I really like it. And I was on Hisham's podcast, and I've noticed since he joined you, his profile picture looks better. He's got better video and all the rest. Do you have a process that you just take somebody in and just rechange all their image?
Yeah, I think when he joined us, he was doing it all in his bedroom, and now he's got the benefit of we've got our own office with a purpose-built studio that we've built, all soundproofed, and it's got all professional equipment. So we're able to create content now at the drop of a hat, which is much higher quality than he could have ever done at home.
Yeah.
And now he's actually doing that for a living rather than trying to do it in the evenings.
Yeah, fair play to him. Right?
Yeah. So the story of Hisham is really interesting because he had his own blog called The Recruitment Rollercoaster, which now is a podcast. Which, when I first set Hoxo Media up, he just messaged me on LinkedIn saying, "Can you write on my blog? I really like what you're doing." So I did, and then he came back to me again and said, "Look, you've just finished recruiting into the insurance market. That's exactly what I do." It was a completely different roles within insurance, so there was no client crossovers or anything. But ultimately, how I would have approached the market would have been similar. So, could I give up some time to mentor him? So I was like, "Yeah, no one's ever asked me to do that before. Wow. Why not?" So we had an hour on a Saturday every month on FaceTime or Skype, and I just kind of almost treated him as if he worked for me in my previous job, and just went through the same stuff I used to do, like looking at his stats, looking at his routes to market, looking at how does he pitch himself, and I found some really obvious stuff he wasn't doing, and actually that he already had loads of talent, and he was just at the early stages of his career. So he started doing really well, and then I don't know, he just kept popping up. He peppered me for ages. He just never stopped asking me questions. And he's super positive, super bright. And then after a while, it was him that said, "Look, why don't we have a conversation about, like, long term? I'd like to be more involved in what you're doing." So
it sounds like the best, longest interview ever.
Well, do you know what? One thing we're trying to do, which again, we're not in competition with the likes of Rec2Rec, because what you do is you provide a need there and then, and we don't do that. We look at building talent pipelines for growth, and it takes time. But Hisham's an exact example of that, where if you've got a brand where you're constantly putting it out there online in the right places, and people start to be attracted by that brand, they're not necessarily going to want to work for you instantly. But they're going to build a level of trust with you online that you don't get in a one stage interview. So we became almost friends over that year without actually seeing each other. But it was just through his content and my content, we kind of built a level of trust with each other. And then, yeah, it took time, but it worked out fine. Recently as well, we just hired a really experienced account manager from another digital agency that was interviewing with some really, really impressive brands. And when I met him, he was like, "I'll be honest, mate, I like you guys, but I'm not sure about the recruitment industry. It sounds a little bit dull." I said it's far from dull. It's the only word I wouldn't use. But I said, look, forget the recruitment industry, because whether you're working for recruitment or whether you're working for any industry, like, we'll make it fun. We'll make it creative. The point being, do you want to work for us or not? And I said, go and watch 2-3 episodes of Hoxo Life. Let me know your thoughts, because actually, mate, that is us. Like, warts and all, no fluff. If you watch that and you like it, that's the business you're going to join and help build. If you watch it and think, oh, I'm not sure about that, they're maybe a bit early or a bit rough around the edges, then cool, let's shake hands. No hard feeling.
I think that's what works about your content from the video perspective, because you're trying to post your authentic self, as opposed to all the contrived videos I see on LinkedIn from nervous recruiters that just absolutely kill me and make me cringe.
I know what you mean. I think, to be honest, mate, trying to come up with ideas to constantly produce amazing content is probably the hardest thing you can ever do. The odd once a month staple piece, great, but just trying to document is the easiest thing, because it's real. It's happening every day anyway. I always say to people, and they're like, what would you write online, or what would you do? I'd like, well, when you get off the phone to that client and you turn to your mate and you make a comment, whatever it is, good, bad, or ugly, they're the moments that people want to hear and see, not the sat in front of a light and trying to pitch like glossy shite. It's the realness of people talking to each other and your actual opinions. Getting your opinion out, which is it's a lot easier when you just do it on the fly than when you necessarily have to sit down and plan.
I was in Dublin drinking with a mate of mine who's in the industry, and he said, look, when was the last time you met somebody really interesting? And I said, in person, not often, but lots of conversations on LinkedIn. And he said, we just need to kind of get access to that a bit more. And then that's where the idea for this podcast came about, really. And just to like, because I think that's the best type of content there is. Like, it's either experiential stuff that you do yourself, or that if you can draw it out of other people, especially when we have access to them. I wanted to ask you, I appreciate that you're doing a lot of employer branding for large recruitment agencies. Do you have a facility to help out like lone rangers like myself as well? Like, there's a lot of independent recruiters out there that need help with their social media?
Yeah, 100%. I say honestly, over the last 12 months, I've turned more business away like that than I've
bet
worked.
You have,
yeah. And the reason being, like any business, right? You're trying to make a profit, and the budgets that smaller agencies have, and actually the need is not necessarily great enough. What was not great enough necessarily to make a profit doing the kind of high level retain stuff.
Yeah.
So what I've built, I've listened to the market, and I thought, look, I don't want to alienate 70% of the recruitment space, and actually,
especially it's the highest growth areas.
Yeah, exactly. Like you guys are going to be the owners of big businesses in the future, and I want to get in early. So what we've built is a business called Hoxo On Demand, which is just it's a stream that is more of a kind of on demand. It's more of a plug and play type model, where you're not necessarily committing to 12 months at X grand a month. You might just want a video retainer where we do one video a month for 500 quid a month, or you might want X amount of blogs written, or we're leading towards videography as the prime product, but it will stretch across graphic design, photography, and content writing as well. So that will be there, and then we're also looking at a model where we can help distribute content for clients as well in more of a
Gary V type way.
Yeah. So there's Hoxo On Demand is being developed as we speak. We've got a number of clients that have come to us already in the last 2 months since we mentioned it. We're doing projects almost every single week with small agencies now, because they've got they want to tell their story. And another reason, the way I can do it, which is I've just put up, Louise Triance at UK Recruiter did a blog for me yesterday. About it, is I'm really passionate about helping young people. So obviously, ex-teacher. One thing about teaching I absolutely loved was working with young people, and like they're especially in I used to work in Sheffield. I'm from Manchester, went to Sheffield, so there's a very similar culture, and all the kids there in the area I worked from a really poor background. They kind of had a really warped view of the future, and they didn't really understand what university was about. They just thought it was debt. They didn't know that you could have fun at university and you could grow as a person and meet people. And I used to really enjoy helping them and just trying to educate them on the future. And then I kind of found in recruitment, I probably lost that. I didn't necessarily have as much fulfillment when it came to young people because most of my market were older than me. At Hoxo, I've across that 30 people we're working with, probably the average age is about 24. So we're now providing commercial opportunities for young people every day. And Hoxo On Demand, the way that I'm going to make sure that the product is great quality and the price is negligible for smaller agencies like yourself is we're using young creatives to produce the work. So
fantastic,
mate. Honestly, one of the guys I've got is the kid is like a young Spielberg. He's phenomenal. He's got the most amazing camera equipment and ability you've ever seen. And when I found him, he was walking through Richmond Park every day taking pictures of mums with dogs. No joke. He was getting 30 quid a picture cash. And he's like, I'm running out of mums in the area. I've sorted everyone. And he got referred to me by a mate, and he said he came in and he did a couple of videos, and I was like gobsmacked by it. And I've got 65 in the network now that are all of a similar standard. They're either just finishing uni or have finished uni, all got their own equipment or have got years of writing or graphic design ability, and they simply cannot get into the commercial opportunities. They simply do not have the contacts to do that, and that's where. Well, I know that's what we can do for them. So
I think it's an amazing thing. And I'm not just blowing smoke up here. It's I'm pretty good at doing content and all of that, but the video piece, I haven't been able to get it right, and I haven't gone down the road because I only want to do something if it's actually going to not be looked upon in 2 years as that's awful. And yeah, I think we'll probably have a conversation about that.
Sure. Just remember with video, there's no doubt video will account for about 70% of all content online in 3 years. So it's coming and it's coming. If you look at LinkedIn now compared to 3 months ago,
the algorithm's changed, right?
It's gone nuts, hasn't it? Like literally, It's not just the algorithm. People are just posting them.
But it's because LinkedIn are saying at the top top right hand corner, post a video, and now and if you write if you wrote a statement a few months ago, it went nuts, and now the same kind of statement, the same likes, doesn't get the same amount of views, but a crap video gets lots.
True.
And I think they're rewarding any type of video right now, but they will start to hone in on just quality in the future, I think.
True. What I would say is quality doesn't mean camera. Quality doesn't mean production. There's a time and place for it, or else my business won't survive. I love the kind of creating amazing cinematic videos like we're really passionate about. You can tell through our vibe there's a style to what we produce for ourselves which won't change. It'll only evolve. But also some of the 100% the most engagement I've ever had from video when I've done it on my iPhone. And it's usually because I've just come out of a meeting or I've just woke up and something's hit me that I'm so passionate about. I've just had to speak about, and then people buy into that more than a planned, preconceived, written down, scripted video. So I think it doesn't matter how the video is produced. My point, as long as what you're saying creates some kind of emotion and people resonate with it, then it'll work. It of course, having a blend of kind of your vlog style stuff as well as high level production value is advantageous. But I would implore anyone listening to start thinking about how they can use video to reach more people. I mean, I got 250,000 views on a video the other week. I got a guy ring me up from Seattle who I'm in talks with now about working with these recruitment agencies, just whether I can actually service the west coast of US. But that came from him watching one of my videos, which I would never, ever have reached on the phone. Like, I don't know anyone over there. And you especially like you say, as LinkedIn are making it more rewarding, I think more and more people will buy it, will start looking at it. Just make sure that when you do, you've got something to talk about. Otherwise, like you say, it can come across a bit cringe.
Now, Sean, I could nerd out and talk to you about marketing and recruitment all day, but I appreciate you're busy. So I'm going to just ask you one last question.
Yeah, mate.
And that is, what's next for the business? How can people find you? Who should be reaching out to you? And yeah, just let us know.
Yeah. So again, what's next for the business, I think, is growth for us in terms of more clients, more exposure, and we're getting more and more. I think more clients now are understanding what we're doing, and are more open to at least having that conversation. I think, look, I'm not trying to sell what we do to people that don't need it. There's no benefit to that. But if you're a recruitment agency and you're like, look, we don't have a strategy to reach an objective. Don't just think we need a social media strategy. Think about the objective first. If you want to grow your headcount internally, and you know you're still going to need recs, you're going to need referrals, but you probably want to start getting, say, applications on your website and stuff, then come and talk to us. If you're a small agency and you want to start telling your story to more people and standing out from the crowd, come and talk to us. Multiple ways. Drop me a line on LinkedIn. I live and breathe LinkedIn, of course, or Instagram. I'm on there all the time. Or go on our website. There's a call to action on pretty much every page of the website, and we'll get back to you as soon as we physically can.
Thanks so much for your time, Sean. Been fascinating.
No problem. Cheers for having me, mate. And I'm sure we'll catch up soon. Give us a call.
I will do. Brilliant.
All right. Ciao, mate. Bye now.
That was really interesting, talking to Sean about digital marketing specifically for recruitment agencies. I think it's an area that a lot of us do struggle to get our story out there and differentiate ourselves. And the work that they're doing to combat that and help you guys along, it's really valuable. I think we've all seen in our news feed recently on LinkedIn that video is really important right now. And I don't think any of us have really got it right yet. And Sean and his company are doing all the right things. So it's definitely a service that I would look to use in the future with my own business. And I hope you guys got value from it too. Let me know what you think as always. And I'll see you next week.